Hello, I wanted to start by talking about Unit 2, Chapter 2, which is percents of a number. So we're going to go through and talk about how we find the percent of a number. And this is Lesson 1 of Chapter 2 and Unit 2. So just a couple of terms to keep in mind. A percentage is a rate out of 100. So think about whenever you take a test, it's always out of 100%, even if there are not 100 questions. Percentages can be written as fractions and as decimals, and you will actually need to take every percentage and make it into a decimal before you can do any math to it. That's one of the rules with percentages, that you always need to make those into a decimal before you do that. And if you think about it, so I'm going to put this in here. If we have a test that is worth 100%, if I want to move this and make it a decimal, I just start where my decimal is, which would be right behind 100, and I'm going to go 2 places to the left. So this will be the rule always when we're moving the decimal. It will move 2 places to the left. So 100%, it's a little bit sloppy here, I apologize, but it should be, put it in decimal there, 1.0. So that's really the highest percentage at this point that you will see. You can technically have over 100%, but we're not really going to get into that in this lesson. But typically, you will have 68% would be written as 0.68. 75% would be written as 0.75. So with that in mind, let's move on to the next example here, the next slide. All right, and let me kind of erase my work off here. Okay, so the first example, I'll work completely with you. And then for the other ones, I'm going to ask that you answer those questions after I give you some time to work. And I'll tell you when is a good time to pause the video. You could pause this one right now if you wanted to solve it on your own before I go to the next slide. So we're going to find 5% of 300. 5% of 300. So to do that, I need to start with this 5%. I need to move the decimal 2 places to the left. Remember, always to the left. And then I will multiply times 300. So here is what it will look like when I do that. So I moved 5% becomes 0.05. I take that times 300 and I get 15. So 15 is 5% of 300. Notice that I did not show all of my work out doing this. I just showed the steps of doing the problem. We are okay with you using a calculator throughout this chapter and this unit to solve these problems. So there is the solution for the first example, 15. Now, as we move on to example 2, this would be a good time to pause your video, because I'm going to give you time to work the problem and then select your answer and see if it matches up with the answer that we came up with. So 55% of 160, you're going to do the same thing here. You're going to move the decimal 2 places to the left, and then you're going to multiply times 160. So if you haven't done it already, pause your computer to work that out. And then I'm going to go ahead and talk about the answer. So here's what we should have as our solution. 0.55 is 55%. We take that times 160, and that gives us 88. So there is 88. 88 is 55% of 160. 2 more examples. So now we have a really high percentage. I guess I said earlier that we wouldn't see percentages over 100, and I forgot that I had this problem in there. So we do need to move the decimal 2 places to the left again, and then we'll multiply times 20. So this is a good time to pause your video again. All right, so let's talk about how we should have done this problem. So we should move the decimal 2 places to the left, and we get 1.60. I will then take that times 20. Notice that my value here is now higher because I have a percentage over 100, if you got 100% on a 20-point test, you would get 20 out of 20. So to get 160 points, you have to get bonus. So you would get more correct than are possible. 32 out of 20 would be 160%. So when it's over the total amount, then we have it as over 100%. So that's the solution for this one. 32 is the answer. One last problem. This gets to be a little bit more of a story problem here. So it says Mr. Smith earned 4% commission on the sale of a hot tub that cost $3,755. So commission is a percent that is earned on the sale of an item. Car salesmen often work this way. Certain electronic stores, their employees work by commission. The more they sell, the more money that they get. Real estate, people that sell houses, also it's the same way. They get a percent of the house that's sold. So you sell $1 million house, you get more money than if you sell a $30,000 house. So we're going to do this problem the same way. We're trying to find the 4% of 3,755. So this is a good time to pause the video so you can see. I'll show you the solution here in just a second. So pause the video. All right, let's talk about what you should have done to solve the problem. We will take 3,755 and we will multiply it times 0.04 because that will be 4%, and I get $15.02. I should have this one labeled because it is an amount of money. All the other problems up to this point have not really needed labels, but this one does. So you will have problems on your assignment tonight that need to be labeled just like this. All right, one last thing I wanted to show you before I wrap up the video. This is one of the problems on the assignment, and I'm not going to go through and show you how to solve this, but if we notice over here, my percentages, this percentages will, so we have this totals up to 85, 96, so it does equal 100%, and that should make sense because we would want it to be out of 100, and we see various blood types. Not everybody has the same blood type. So if you read through the question here, like A, find how many donors have type B blood. So we would use this 11% and we would use the 145 donors that is included in the problem to find the percent of people that have that blood type. Your answer will not be 11. Your answer will be how many donors, the percent of 145. What percent is 11 of 145? The other one that might be a little bit tricky for you, it says how many donors did not have type O blood. So what I have to do here is I have 3 different types I have to include. I don't want O, but I need to find my total percentage here of the types that have A, B, and AB. And then with that number, that gives me my total percent. I will use that with the 145. So I thought that was a little bit tricky because it includes a table here that you had to read. So I thought I'd give a little bit of an explanation on that. But now you can kind of turn your attention to getting ready for the assignment. Thanks for watching the video, and hopefully you do well on that.